certain amount of appreciation you have when you have that freedom.
I've done it at all 4 parks. And I think what I like is that's when you find all those little, like, nooks and crannies.
Yes.
And it's Disney, so there's something in every single one of them. And you're free to just kind of explore. And Tom Sawyer's Island especially is a wonderful place to do that. But I actually really like to do that on Main Street.
Oh my God! One of my favorite things to do as a cast member visiting on days off or evenings after work is I would go to the Plaza ice cream parlor, get myself one of those big waffle bowl sundaes, and then go to Center Street, find a little out of the way table, and just sit there and just take in the atmosphere, watch the people walk by, listen to the sound effects coming from the windows.
Right, and that's what I was going to mention. I really love that one little place. It's, I think, right before you get to Plaza. It's right there on the right-hand side, where if you, like, go back into, like, that little nook and cranny, you can hear the music from the dance studio.
Yes, yeah, that's where I would sit.
And I love that. That's one of my favorite places on Main Street.
Yeah, either that or the other place I used to love going is actually one that doesn't exist anymore since they redid the hub. There was a little seating area down the hill from the plaza as you're heading towards Tomorrowland, where there's a bunch of right on the water, and I used to go down there and enjoy my ice cream. And
we have shared ice cream from those tables more than once together.
Yeah. I would go there and watch the fireworks and the Spectrum Magic parade back when that was still running. I miss
Spectrum Magic.
Yeah, I miss there being a parade.
Well, there's that too, but someday.
My wife absolutely hates the Main Street Electrical Parade. She thinks it's the cheesiest thing in the world, I can't deny that she's kind of right. But
I like parts of it.
But yeah,
the ending leaves a lot to be desired.
Well, yeah, especially since they, they never got rid of, I think, the America floats from the 70s, so it just kind of ends on this weirdly... They could do an
upgrade. It ends and it's just over. There's, like, no...
Right, yeah.
Like, winding down. It's just...
with Spectrum Magic, there was always, like, it felt like there was a conclusion.
Right, and Main Street Electrical Parade does not have that at all.
But yeah, anyway, so, after I had gone to college for about a year, my girlfriend had just broke up with me. I didn't like the classes I was taking and was kind of starting to fail out and didn't know what I wanted to do. And the Disney College program was recruiting at a college near where I went. So I took a road trip over there and quote-unquote auditioned, as they call it.
That was the one before you met me, right?
Yes. I
thought so. That was your second CP, once we were friends.
Correct, yeah. So I went in and did a college program the fall of 2001, which was a great time to be there because, as we know, fall of 2001 was not a great time for
America
much of
as
anything.
A whole.
Yeah, and nobody was traveling because of what had happened, and so like the parks were deserted, and I got a lot of time off, a lot of early releases, so I would take advantage of those and explore the parks. Oddly enough, I did not explore Animal Kingdom very much during that period.
That's a shame.
Yeah, especially considering on my next college program 4 years later, I was working in Animal Kingdom, and I saw all these things that I like, wow, I wish I'd known that this was here before, or...
Animal Kingdom does not get enough love.
No, it doesn't. It's my wife's favorite park, and it is the park that I call home because it's the one that I worked in for 3 years.
Where did you work on your first one? Studios?
Yeah, I was awesome. In Outdoor Foods, Disney MGM Studios. I worked ice cream carts a lot. I worked... it doesn't exist anymore, but down at the end of what is now, was it Pixar Street or whatever it is?
Pixar Place?
Yeah, back where the Backlot Tour used to be, there was a Coca-Cola cart there that looked like a giant bottle of Coke.
I remember that.
I worked at that a lot, and I loved it because not only was it a slow location and I could kind of, occupy my time however I wanted, but one of the first things I was trained on was the cinnamon roasted nuts.
Yes.
I don't like nuts.
But those are so good.
I like peanut butter, and I have to admit that they smelled fantastic, but I couldn't taste them, and I didn't know how to cook them, so I burned them a lot, and then I burned myself on the kettle, and I finally said, don't put me on that anymore. Said, you want to train me to make something? Train me on popcorn. So they trained me on popcorn, and that was one of the other places that I worked a lot, was the popcorn wagon. And it's still there. They've remodeled it since then, but the popcorn wagon that's in the hub in front of the Chinese theater.
That's
was
a popular
another place
one.
I worked a lot. Yeah. It was real fun working there during soap opera weekend. That's sarcasm, by the way. It was an absolute madhouse, and there was I had absolutely no interest.
About those.
I had absolutely no interest in the going
those out of my brain.
Yeah, the studios was a strange place then. So yeah, that was my first college program. My second was custodial at Animal Kingdom, and after I finished that college program, I stayed on full-time custodial at Animal Kingdom.
And then I moved down and joined you. Not at Animal Kingdom, but in Orlando and in your house.
Right. Yeah, so may as well pick up the baton from there, because I pretty much stayed at Animal Kingdom until I couldn't work anymore.
Well, and then I arrived in fall of 2007, and my plan was to stay for a year. I had a life back home in New York, and I loved Disney, and I loved all of it, but I was going to come down, work till I got bored of it, and then go back. That was in 2007. I still am in Florida, and right down the street from Disney. Because less than a month after I moved here, I met my husband. So yeah, at Epcot, mind you, during the fireworks, which is just a really cool story.
During the 25th anniversary fireworks, as a matter of fact.
The 25th anniversary illuminations.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were there.
Yeah, I was there. You were there because of me.
Yeah, you dragged me there in the rain, and I stayed there all day.
It was
raining all day.
At the time. It
wasn't raining when we got there at 9 a.m. and waited in line for 3 hours to buy a shirt that I still have.
Yes, I'm jealous because I didn't end up getting one of those shirts. I do have one now that's similar that my brother had bought me as a birthday present, but I did not get one of the 25th anniversary shirts.
I think I bought the last one.
I did get 2 of the 25th anniversary Figment plushes, one of which I kept for myself, the other I gave to my brother.
I remember waiting in line for those 2.
Oh, God, I remember running all over the park trying to find another one. I bought one.
Yes, after the talk by Marty Sklar, which I'm still glad you dragged me to.
Yeah.
That was really incredible.
That was an amazing experience, and I regret that I haven't been able to do any of the anniversary celebrations since then. I am hoping, but probably not going to get there during Disney World's 50th. But yeah, that was quite a day, and then it did start raining, and everybody was
that epic
cold
downpour meant the 5 or 10 minute delay in fireworks, which meant everybody cleared out, which meant I moved up, as did my now husband, and then we were there, I think, until they lit off those barges at the end. Like, we stood there in Japan just chatting for a long time.
Yeah, we met your husband. We met another person who's been a longtime friend of mine. Unlike you or your husband, I've never seen him in person, but we've stayed in touch through Facebook, thankfully. And
then we went over to those light-up sidewalks.
Oh, yes.
And we chatted there for a really long time while my now husband's ex-girlfriend was blowing up his phone, wondering why he wasn't responding.
Well, that's okay. I was with my ex-wife at the time, so
yeah.
you know.
But, things work out.
But yeah, so that's kind of how our Disney... well, you didn't talk much about your Disney career.
Well, my Disney career was... they gave me the choice where to work, and I actually requested to work in one of the resorts or at, what was downtown Disney to kind of keep the parks fresh. So I was in the marketplace area of downtown Disney at Mickey's Mart, which was only popular because they had these ridiculous grab bags, which was also part of Pooh's Corner, which nobody ever went to. But it was...
Oh, that's sad.
I mean, they didn't have a lot. It was mostly a giant plush mountain.
Oh, the plush mountains.
But it was interesting working at downtown Disney because that did really keep the parks fresh. I didn't have to go in and be there every day. I didn't actually stay with Disney for very long. I was actually only there for about 6 months, but I've done multiple jobs with operating participants, both at Epcot and Magic Kingdom and at Yacht and Beach Club. And it's different working for the operating participants. It's a different culture, but of course you're still keyed into like the Disney look. You still get comp tickets and you can get yourself in. But it's interesting to see how they work together with kind of like the local area and with the other businesses in the area, but still not technically being Disney.
Yeah, I remember, they don't do this anymore, but when I was working in outdoor foods, they sold Zephyr Hills bottled water, which is a Florida local spring and bottling plant. So now they sell Dasani, but at the time, yeah, it was locally sourced water.
And I always really like seeing that. It's kind of like the same thing when you go over to Spaceship Earth. They have like the Seamen's Lounge and stuff. So they do, it's I don't know. I've always just really liked kind of seeing that partnership in action. And I think it's really interesting how they pull in other places. I worked at the Pearl Factory. I worked for Crystal Magic, which is different from Erebus Brothers, but, kind of similar product. And it's interesting to see how that all kind of works together. And it kept me in the Disney family.
Yeah, I never worked for an operating partner, and so I mean, I worked for almost 3 years full time custodial at Animal Kingdom. It's one of my favorite jobs that I've ever had. Custodial affords you so much freedom to just kind of walk around the park and or at least your area of the park, and do whatever, and as long as your area of the park is clean.
They are frontline guest services, too.
Yeah, you get a lot of guest interaction, and, me being so, like, kind of keyed into everything in the park, like, I always had all the answers for everybody.
That's what I liked about working at Epcot, because I was working with the Crystal Magic at the time, and a big part of that, we took people's pictures and lasered them into glass blocks. So a big part of that was talking to customers, and it was really fun to just kind of sit there and be like, oh, this is where you're going, and this is what you're doing, and this is how you get there. And that was probably the best part of any of my Disney jobs, was actually getting a chance to sit down with these people and talk to them.
Yeah, I would occasionally, just come across somebody sitting on a bench and they'd ask me a question and we'd get into a conversation. There were times where I would probably be standing next to a guest talking to them for a half hour, 45 minutes. And I'd feel bad because I'm like, well, you're wasting your vacation standing here talking to a janitor. But those are some of the greatest experiences for me. And those are, honestly, those are the experiences that guests remember. They go home and they talk about, we went for the rides and, the parks and the food, but we also met this great cast member who stood and talked, to us for so much time,
And that's the genius behind pin trading.
Yes.
Because
I love pin trading.
That gives you that opportunity to, lots of times it's just here trading this pin for that pin, but that gives guests a reason to talk to you, and you then get a chance to make that magic for them.
I would always one of my managers would let us go into the pin, we had a bin of pins that we
and
could
get all the
pick
hidden
from.
Mickeys
Right,
trade.
and I would always stock my lanyard with pins that I liked, because then when a guest traded with me for it, I could be like, oh, I love that one. That one's one of my favorites, or that's my favorite character, or, my favorite ride, or, oh, I remember when that existed, because sometimes, this was 2015, 5, 6,
There's
7,
attractions that
8.
are gone.
Yeah, like there would be, you'd still see pins for attractions that were gone or had been rethemed or renamed. So, yeah, that was always good fun.
Well, that's what I liked, too, when I got the chance to get the hidden Mickeys, because not only do people not necessarily know what they are, but people are also looking for them. So that gives them a reason to stop and talk to you.
See, my experience with hidden Mickey pins was the complete opposite.